And as I press record, this is the Library Fountain Improvement Project with the City of Beaverton. So Stacy Rivet from Public Works and Engineering, and I'm here to also introduce Aaron Lee, who is City of Beaverton Construction Project Manager on this project. Hi, Aaron. And also Aaron Maples from Walker Macy, who is the landscape architect, and then also the project manager on the consultant side. We also have Jeff Hunsaker from the City of Beaverton, who is the city engineer. And we are here this evening to provide some great updates for the Fountain Improvement Project. And again, thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate it. So I will go ahead and let Aaron go ahead and share your screen, and we'll start the presentation. Perfect, we can see it. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Aaron.
I think we're good.
Yep, we're good. Good job.
Sorry about that. Yeah, let me get this into a full screen mode here. Well, thank you everybody for showing up and attending tonight. Thought we'd give you guys, everyone, a good update to where we are with the Beaverton Fountain Project at the City Park. We are in a good spot. I know this has been a long process the last few years. Hopefully there's some of you that have been part of the process or have been following along. We're almost there though. We're coming up onto some exciting parts of the project that we'd like to put in front of you and gauge some questions possibly. So as we all know, this is a well-loved and well-used park. Anywhere from kids running through the fountain, enjoying themselves on a hot summer day, to movies in the park. The city hosts numerous events throughout the year. Lots of lawn space for families to lay out and have a picnic. Adjacent to the city library, and then of course the ever popular farmers market that happens throughout the year. So it's a hub of activity. We know that is here already and is well loved, but possibly going to make it better. We'll see. But really, just to start, wanted to share with you the project goals that we've worked with the city on the last couple of years. Really the one that initiated the project from the get-go is the need to relocate an underground vault associated with all of the equipment that runs the fountain. Right now it's that equipment's underground, takes multiple staff to get down in there and work on moving things in and out. So bringing that into an above ground building is the goal here. And there's pieces along the way that things that shifted along the way with that going on. The second goal is to update some of the aging fountain equipment. So the jets where the actual fountain, the spray comes out of, those have a shelf life. It's been 20 years since this was installed, so at least 20 years. So that stuff is ready to be changed and upgraded, and also to meet current 2020 codes. The third and final goal here with this project was to improve the drainage from the fountain runoff. So as you can see, this image actually depicts it very well, the issues today on a very busy day or a windy day even. That fountain, the very high fountain jets, they get overspray, and kids tracking water as they run around and have fun. The water spills out into the lawn and creates a little bit of a muddy, mucky mess at times, especially when it happens day and day on end. So we're gonna encompass the whole fountain deck with a really good drainage system and trench drain to capture all of that runoff, and that won't be an issue in the future. There's other things that we're gonna do. And thinking about the fountain itself, the exciting part in my eyes of the whole project, of course, is what everybody's going to see and really experience when this thing opens. Is in the beginning, the city has always been very interested in seeing how the fountain itself can be upgraded, since we're going in there and pulling up all these jet systems and upgrading all the equipment, as well as the brick and the stone paving around it. They thought, now's the time to think about how to make this thing more dynamic, maybe more interactive, more complex system to just really engage users a little bit more. It's great now, but hopefully going to make it better in the future. So here you can see there's some arcing jets of varying height that users will experience. And there's a lot of programming that will be utilized going forward, and that the city can set up, different shows and start to, not just one thrust of water in all these jets. There's some nuance in how you can actually program all the jets individually, at least in groups. And so along those lines, the city, as soon as we brought this up way back when, I think somebody was already thinking about it, but as soon as we brought it up, everybody was really excited. And the idea of bringing in some interactive lighting and audio system into the fountain itself. So extending the life of the fountain, not just during those hot, warm, sunny months of the year, but also into the evenings for special occasions, and even seasonally in the wintertime, even if the water isn't used, the lights could be utilized as part of a Christmas staging event or something. That the possibility is really endless. But I can show you a quick video that we worked with our fountain consultant on. I probably will spare you the whole 2-minute show, but this will give you enough of a sneak peek to see just what you're in for, I guess. What the possibilities are here. That you'll start. Obviously, this is trying to replicate an evening show. So with lights, you can imagine audio incorporated into this to really create this choreographed show for the city and passersby, or maybe it's a programmed event that people come to. But I like to think of it as a mini Bellagio in the center of Beaverton. But yeah, you can sort of see just the possibilities of not just having this as a thing to splash around and get wet in on hot summer days, but also could be used as an event itself, I guess. So I'll go back to the show. That's the most exciting part, I think, and we can come back to any questions on this, but to talk about what else we're doing. So to go back, this is just a diagram highlighting sort of that primary objective here is getting all of that old underground equipment into an above ground building. And so that new building will be situated where the existing swing set is. If you're familiar with the site at all, you probably know right where that's at, down along 5th Street on the south side. It's just going to relieve so much of that pressure when the maintenance workers, staff have to go into that underground vault that sort of disrupts the activity that's going on in the playground, or sorry, the fountain, and they have to cone it off and make sure nobody, is going to fall into the pit. But really, it's just going to be much safer to have it removed and away from the fountain itself. That way, there's no interaction between those two groups. It's going to be a win-win for everybody. But to go into so this is just more of a rendered plan, if you will, just a colored plan to show you all the parts and pieces that are maybe moving, So that, as I mentioned, the proposed building down there at the south along 5th Street, where the swing sets are currently. So the swings will be relocated to the north slightly within the grove of Ponderosa Pines. And it'll be a new swing set, so new equipment, updated equipment, and also sitting on top of some rubber tiles. So no longer will there be messes of bark dust for kids to fall and play around in, for better or worse. But it'll relieve a lot of work for the maintenance and staff to clean up that and keep refilling it when it gets holes and such in there. But it's connected to the existing play area just to the north of that by a new accessible concrete path, as well as a couple picnic tables along the way there. So these next few slides are highlighting sort of what the building itself, the above ground building now, what that will look like, at least technically here. So the overall idea is that it's just going to sort of, sit in the overall landscape. It's not meant to call a lot of attention to itself, although it will be a nice, I mean, in my eyes, a nice looking maintenance building, probably one of the better ones around. But it is meant to sort of tie into some of the surrounding architecture. So you'll notice that it'll have showcase some of that same brickwork that the library has nearby, as well as some of the metal detailing. So here there'll be a series of metal panels along the front facade, and one single door on the south. So this is facing 5th Street, and then a row of windows along the top. So it is a nice looking building. We'll have a couple of renderings of it here in a second, but east and west elevation is the same. It looks like this. It's a flat roof, about almost 13 feet tall overall. But again, it's not meant to call attention to itself, just kind of sits in the landscape and lets its surroundings, the park, really speak to itself and be the thing to look at. Again, so the back, not to jump the gun a little bit here, so this is the rear of the building, so on the north side facing the tree grove, or the playground, if you will. But there is the opportunity to, there's been discussions with the city at least to possibly have a mural on this side. This is something the city maybe be able to speak to, but that is an opportunity. And something they can maybe talk to, but it is kind of exciting to think about that. These are a couple images here, the next couple slides of a rendering that I spoke to. What the building may look like, the architect provided these. It's a little deceiving in that there won't be grass necessarily around the building. It'll remain as what it is today with the bark mulch surrounding, but there will be a nice bed of planting on all 4 sides of the building to sort of set it in the landscape, with a stormwater planter just off into the distance on the east side of the building. And again, it's just what's intended to just sort of sit in the landscape and not be the main thing. You can see here in this image the fountain in the background, so that's still going to be sort of the focus for sure. But I think this is a nice looking maintenance building for what it is. And so to kind of wrap up, just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the schedule of happenings here soon. Here we are today, but construction, we're aiming, and it looks like we'll be able to start in January, I think, the last I've heard. And then really it's going to be a all hands on deck effort from the construction team to get this thing open by the beginning of July, and hopefully have kickoff party by the 4th of July, and maybe less social distancing by then, I don't know, but crossing fingers. But it's pretty exciting. It's just around the corner, and it's going to be really exciting and a lot to look forward to for sure. And with that, there may be things I missed or things that you may want to ask about. So now maybe the time, Stacy, if there's anything I missed, let me know, but otherwise I can take some questions.
Great, Aaron, thank you so much, and great job on the presentation. So we will look to see if there are any questions in the chat feature under Q&A or chat. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type those in.
And Aaron Lee from the city, right? He can take some questions too if he's
right.
I can swing some his way.
So I have one question here from Gary. When did this project begin?
Yeah, good question. Well, this portion of the project began, I believe, in 2017. There's a few start and stops, and one of them was when we were thinking about all the mechanical equipment that was getting replaced. There's some talks about how the city wanted to recirculate that water in the system. So that was a process that took a little while. So we really picked up speed in 2018, I think it was. And went forward, and then there are some other processes involved with the city in terms of design review and land use and those types of things that we had to go through before we really pushed the pedal on documentation. But so it's been going on sort of off and on the last few years, but really I think it started in 2017.
Okay, and then we have a couple more questions that came in. The fountain is open every day for many months. Is the new fountain system reliable for this activity?
Sorry, could you, I guess I didn't get all of that. I missed the beginning, I
Sure.
think.
Oh, it's okay. The fountain is open every day for many months. Is the new fountain system reliable for this activity? So
Yes.
will it be open as much?
Yeah, and technology's come a long way, of course, since the initial fountain was built in the late 90s, 98, 99, with a lot of these parts and pieces. 20 years really was pushing it on a lot of the equipment. But the new equipment that's getting installed, it's meant to take on that sort of wear and tear. And for better or worse, the Northwest has probably fewer days than a lot of other places, maybe down south, that these systems would have to run further year round, so many more months than what we get here. So yes, I would expect at least 20 years out of this system.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next question is, how much did it cost? And I don't know, Aaron Lee, if you wanted to help with that, or Jeff, go
actually,
ahead.
I'd like to take that because we're actually in the bidding process right now. So contractors are currently getting their bids ready. So I don't want to say too much because that's how the process works. But the engineer's estimate is in the $2.5 to $3 million range.
Great. These are great questions.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a question? Is there a reduction in annual maintenance cost?
I don't know that Jeff, I don't know if you have an answer for that.
There will be. The current fountain requires a fair amount of maintenance to clean out the filters and switch out parts and keep it running, especially in the summertime. And there's also quite a bit of weekend maintenance that has to happen, which we have to pay our crews overtime for that. So the new fountain being above ground, there could be less people that go out to maintain it, change out filters. The filters will be more reliable, the pumps more reliable. So yes, we expect to see at least a significant reduction in staffing for maintenance costs. And with it being more reliable equipment, I would expect we'd see less replacement costs as well.
Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time. Maybe we'll give folks just a couple more minutes in case they have some other questions. Aaron, I guess you did a great job explaining the entire project.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a recorded presentation also, and so this will be up on the Library Fountain Improvement Project landing webpage. So if you go to City of Beaverton /library improvements, you'll be able to also watch this video again. Please describe the technology used to filter and clean the water.
To filter and clean the water. Well, it is a recirculating system. So it does all the water that falls. So if we're looking at this image, the grading is such that all the water that comes out of the fountain drains back into itself in these trenches. And then it goes through a recirculating system that first goes through a filter before it gets pumped back again. And though that filter has to be maintained at some level, interval that I don't know the details of that, but there is a maintenance schedule for that.
The water is also given some chemical feeds, mostly chlorine, that keep it clean. And then there's also a UV system to kill any viruses or bacteria with the UV light as well.
Great question.
Okay, so with that, if we don't have any more questions, sometimes these presentations go very quickly. Sometimes they can be an hour or a little longer. So I think we've had some great questions this evening. And I'm gonna just kind of open it up, kind of a last call for questions here, and then we'll go ahead and close the presentation. Okay, so it sounds like we're all good, and I really appreciate everybody who was able to join us this evening, and thank you for taking the time out of your evening to listen to this very important library fountain improvement project. And you can listen to the presentation again if you'd like to on the website. So thanks again, and I will go ahead and stop recording now. And Aaron, if you want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen.
Okay.